So I did a video yesterday talking about Cenk Uygur and how he had a half defense of Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson had on Rutger Bregman, who's a Dutch historian who went off at Davos about tax avoidance and the billionaires' tax avoidance that they're doing. This interview didn't end up airing on Fox News, but it was recorded by Rutger Bregman, and so he ended up posting the interview, which never actually aired. Now, I didn't agree with Cenk. I felt like, oh, this is not, like, there's no reason to have to defend him, We're going to be looking at another nuanced take here from Kyle Kulinski. He describes his take as nuanced. He also said that he had mixed feelings on this, and he also did a half defense of Tucker Carlson. But to be honest, the video is sort of all over the place because he starts out by kind of saying he has he's got mixed feelings, and then he kind of, just starts to go in a bunch of different directions. So it's kind of hard to keep up with it. But we're going to look at a couple of clips here, and we're going to talk about this. So first, you are going to see a clip here of Kyle explaining briefly that basically he wishes that lefties would just take yes for an answer on certain issues.
In other words, what I would say to Rutger Bregman is, take yes for an answer. So this is an issue where Tucker's actually agreeing with you. Now, I do find it funny when he's like, he says to him, you're not talking about these issues. Rutger says that to Tucker, and he's like, we're literally doing it right now. Like, that's why I invited you on the show to talk about this issue. So I don't like that. Oftentimes, when somebody on the left is given yes for an answer, they're like, but you're bad on all these other things. Yeah, that's right. So call them out on those other things, but take yes for an answer on the issue where they agree with you. Now, having said all that, the final caveat, and it's an important one, is this. Tucker is a little bit of a fraud because...
Yeah, so this specific case to me does not seem to be a case of where it's like, oh, the left just simply should take yes for an answer on this issue. I highly, highly disagree with that. And he kind of ends up like going against that in a way in his explanation that he goes on to say, where he talks about how Tucker Carlson is a fake populist and a fraud. He seemed to, go through the video where he would increase his amount of fraudulence that is, exhibited by Tucker Carlson. So in the beginning, he's like a little bit of a fraud. Then he says like he's a pretty big fraud, and all. It kind of went forward. So this is definitely not an issue where it's like, come on, lefties, just take yes for an answer on tax avoidance, man. Tucker Carlson agrees with you here. Why are you being so reluctant? Why are you trying to fight Tucker Carlson so hard, man? He agrees with you. Stop being stop being such spoiled brats or whatever. Like, that's definitely not applicable here. I'm sure there's some area where that's applicable when it comes to the left. And to be fair to him, this was coming in off of a point where he was talking about Ro Khanna, and Ro Khanna getting a ton of backlash for basically tipping his hat to Tucker Carlson, which is an issue for another time. But just to be clear, this is not an issue where it's like that. We're talking about, and like I said, Kyle talks about it later on in the video, but Tucker Carlson is a massive fraud. And so if you watch the video, right in the beginning, the setup for the question, the first question is, what do you think about, I forget if it was, what do you think about, or isn't it hypocritical that these people who are, doing tax avoidance are flying around the world on private jets? And he was trying to make this, sort of climate change argument that he tries to do to basically attack lefties. That's what he's trying to do, and that was the whole point of it. So Rutger Bregman was on there literally to be a tool to be used as this sort of attack and smear merchant essentially towards these lefties, where Tucker Carlson sees these billionaires who he deems as lefty billionaires, and he goes, oh, well, look at these lefties, these billionaire lefties who supposedly are trying to fight climate change, but they're flying private jets. And so, right when you see the beginning of the video, I don't even know how you could possibly have mixed feelings on that. Clearly, Rutger took him to task, and it was well-deserved because Tucker Carlson was trying to use him like a tool. That's what he was trying to do. So it's very obvious why Rutger was, doing that, and I'm sure he had some premeditated plan to call him out, and that's rightfully so as well. I mean, the guy's clearly a fraud, and he's trying to use him as a tool there. And as you guys saw there, Kyle says, he brings up that Rutger said, you guys don't talk about this issue, and he goes, he has you on right now to talk about it. So, yeah, that's true, he has him on to talk about it, but first of all, it's based on an angle to go after lefties, and then also, as a whole, A, Fox News doesn't talk about those issues, B, Tucker Carlson talks about them sometimes, but he does it in a way, A, he does it because it's, as he explained, jumping on the bandwagon, and what he's doing is he's co-opting progressive messaging because of the massive popularity of it. And this is all something that, Kyle goes on to explain. So that's kind of what I don't get about this, why you would have mixed feelings. And Rutger explained it there. I mean, he explained it. He said, you did it once, after Bernie Sanders and AOC because you're trying to co-opt the message of progressives, the progressive agenda, because it's so damn popular. That's what you're clearly, very, very obviously trying to do. And Fox News doesn't talk about tax avoidance. Tucker rarely talks about that. He'll talk about it, and then he'll use it to go, hey, we need less regulation. We don't need more government. These are, monopolies. These aren't free markets. So he's trying to do it for his, laissez-faire, whatever, economical system. And then we all, have these agreements, when it comes to Syria, for example, Tucker Carlson. But even those positions I really take into question. I'm sure he has the position on that, which is fine. But even an area like foreign policy, apparently he was a big George W. Bush guy. He was a big Iraq guy who was a cheerleader for that. And I just saw a clip of Tucker Carlson talking about Ilhan Omar and going after Elliot Abrams, who absolutely is somebody who's anybody who's an anti-interventionist or just a humanitarian, a person with like any morals or decency would hate Elliot Abrams' guts, okay? If you've read about any of the crap that he's done and the crazy, crazy groups that he's backed, you will hate that man. And Tucker Carlson framed it. He didn't even say much. He had this weird silence about it. He tried framing it like Ilhan Omar has this hatred for America, she's a refugee and all this is really weird stuff. And she said that he framed it as, she accused him of lying about the Iran-Contra affair, which happened over 30 years ago. The dude's a joke and he's a fraud, and it's very obvious. And so I don't understand the need for mixed feelings here. Rutger was being used as a tool. If you watch the video right from the beginning, literally within like the first 20 to 25 seconds, he's asking him a gotcha question about lefties. Could you imagine what it'd be like, if you were a lefty on there and you're trying to be used, you're trying to be, co-opted to go against lefties as this kind of gotcha dude? What? Fuck that, dude. I would be pissed too. And I would totally take him to task because this guy's a total faker and a fraud. He is a millionaire funded by billionaires. That's Tucker Carlson. So, this last clip we're gonna look at here is Kyle. He's going to finish off the clip, or almost finish off the clip, explaining that basically there could have been a way to do this without having Tucker result in a massive meltdown.
So, I do. The reason I have mixed feelings is I feel like Rutger Bregman could have taken yes for an answer on the economic rhetoric, on the economically populist rhetoric that Tucker was seemingly agreeing with him on. But then in the process of taking yes for an answer, you can also hit him with a couple jabs and a couple gut shots and be like, hey, dog, listen, the classic trick from the right is to use fake populism and to rope people in with that rhetoric and then turn around and scapegoat and blame immigrants, which he did kind of do. But I felt like he could have done it in a way where it didn't lead to a total meltdown of Tucker and yelling at him. Like, it seemed like Walter, am I fucking up his name? Rutger Bregman was trying to get kicked off the show. It did strike me like that. Many of you will disagree with that, but that's what it looked like to me. Like he was trying to get kicked off the show, and I thought that was weird. Listen, I've been on Fox News, so I could speak from a particular, perspective here that I don't think many people have. And my approach in these situations is always to co-opt my opponent's ideology against them. So if you go back and you watch my Fox News interviews, you'll see exactly how I go about doing that, okay? Where I'm always bringing up, yes, but the poll show the Republican voters agree with me on this, and you use that. Yes, hey, when Donald Trump spoke about NAFTA, I wish he followed through on that. Donald Trump was right on NAFTA. So you have to frame it from the position of, hey, listen, I'm framing this from your ideology, and here's why you need to support left-wing ideas. And that's how, it's almost like, to use a crass example here, but I think it makes sense. It's like for the baby when you put the pill into the applesauce and they eat the applesauce and they think they just ate applesauce, but they actually just had medicine too. They don't even realize it. Oh, shit. All of a sudden, now they're in favor of unions, and they're in favor of stopping outsourcing, and they're in favor, like, all that stuff. So, I think he was trying to get kicked off, and that's why I think I have mixed feelings on this. I feel like he could have gotten his point across in a way that would have convinced more people in the audience, because now the reaction from Tucker's fans are going to be, fuck this guy Rutger, whereas he could have done it in a way where he gets his point across and doesn't compromise his values at all, and people go, oh, yeah, he's right about that now, isn't he?
Okay, so that was definitely an interesting perspective and concept there, but I'm genuinely not sure how many people's opinions would have been changed by Rutger, and the reason why I say that is obviously because they're Republican morons watching the show, but most importantly, the premise of that segment isn't about really going after tax avoidance. The whole premise, and again, as I told you, if you watch the first 30 seconds of it, he's literally trying to ask him about, I forget how exactly he worded it, but he was trying to, invoke look at all these liberal billionaires who are flying private jets. So, and they don't care about tax avoidance. So if the premise isn't even a good faith measure of actually looking at that, a tax avoidance, I don't see how you're actually going to end up convincing your audience. I really don't see how that's possible. What I think the audience is going to end up coming away with is, oh, look at these liberal scumbag billionaires who claim to be all about fixing the climate, but they fly their jets all around the planet, and they're all about tax avoidance. I don't think they're going to be more inclined to be Bernie supporters. I don't even think they're going to be more inclined to be supportive of issues that Bernie or AOC supports. I really don't. I really, really, really doubt that is at all what would happen. I really don't see a way that would happen. And Kyle says that, he could have done it in a way that wouldn't have led to a Tucker Carlson complete meltdown. I'm not sure if that is true, maybe, but I don't think that it would have been as effective. But that's probably where I have the most mixed feelings, because I really have no idea whether or not he could have done it in an effective way without having, Tucker Carlson, result in a massive meltdown. I really have no idea. I don't know whether or not they choose to not air segments due to awkwardness, because if you could tell there before the full-on meltdown happened, Rutger Bregman was trying to talk about, how they don't talk about hiring taxes, and they don't talk about tax avoidance, and it started getting super awkward there because Tucker was trying to go on his talking points, and Rutger was doing the opposite, and so it was this really weird sort of dynamic where the conversation wasn't flowing at all. It was really super awkward. So I really don't know if they would have aired that either. But honestly, I have no idea I don't think there would have been a way to do it without it resulting in a complete meltdown, because, I don't know how the message would have gotten across. I really have no idea. But one thing is for sure, zero defense of Tucker Carlson here. The dude is a complete fraud. The dude is a complete liar. He is a complete joke, period. Don't trust Tucker Carlson. It's fine to be like, oh, hey, we agree on this issue, cool. But when you start, defending him when he's trying to, he's literally using Rutger Bregman. Rutger Bregman is Kobe Bryant, and then Tucker Carlson Shaq, where Shaq's, about to get a dunk and Rutger's throwing up the alley-oop. That's basically kind of how it is. Or be vice versa, actually, sorry. But Rutger, will be saying, hey, yeah, look at all this hypocrisy of these billionaires, liberal billionaires taking these private jets. So don't trust Tucker Carlson. I don't get the half defense that's been done by Cenk and Kyle. Although Kyle offered a lot different nuance, and it was kind of a confusing segment to say the least.